If you really struggle with an inner critic, I'm going to tell you how to get rid of it so it goes from this to this. Before I get into it, just because I'm a therapist doesn't mean I'm yours and I know your context. So some of this may not be helpful to you, and that's okay. And I'm sorry if that's the case. Hopefully some of it is, though. Okay, so we're going to jump right into it. I'm going to explain this using what's called internal family systems. This is a model of therapy that some therapists are trained in that can help you deal with things like an inner critic. I am personally not trained in this myself, but I really like the concept, and so that's where I'm coming from, is I'm going to help you explain the concept of it. So the idea is that your inner critic is not your whole self. It is not who you are at your core. This is who you are at your core. You're compassionate, you're calm, you're curious, you're connected, you're courageous, you're creative. Think about this as like a parent. This is what your parent should have been to you when you had problems growing up. Now, because parents were not taught how to do these things and they had shitty parents themselves, they were a shitty parent to you. And so you've internalized either a very negative critical voice, which came from them, or it came from you trying to protect yourself in situations and problems that you didn't know how to solve. So what happens is in situations you react from this like inner critic is like the loudest voice, and you feel disconnected from your real self, this part of you that's compassionate and that can be like, hey, sweetheart, it's all good. You made a mistake, right? Like that's what being calm, curious, like what happened? Tell me what went on so we can figure this out. Let's think of solutions like creativity. But overall, this core part of who you are is inherently good. And this is how you were born. This, just because of shitty parenting, you became disconnected from this part of yourself. And now you only hear from the other parts, okay? The other parts are the firefighters, managers, and exiles. The idea is that your firefighters and managers are all protecting you from these core feelings of vulnerability right here, aka the exiles. They're parts of yourself that are exiled, that you kind of had to split off. This vulnerability, this powerlessness, this fear. So basically in a situation where your inner critic comes out, it's protecting you from feeling these really difficult feelings, feeling dependent, feeling angry, feeling scared, feeling hurt, feeling embarrassed, feeling ashamed. These are your exiles. So like basically really difficult emotions that were not, your parents didn't make space for when you were a kid. And so you developed these protective parts like an inner critic, which are, again, I'm going to get into these two things, to protect yourself from these feelings that are from a psychic level, like enter in your mental and your mind, were too overwhelming to your system to even process. So you just kind of split them off. And now internally you react to situations from these places, which protect that. So again, I'm not trained in IFS, so I don't know all these specifics, but basically firefighters are what happens when these exiles are like triggered. And these are what protect you in the present. They're like panic buttons. So like think of drinking too much. Think of binge eating. These like panic attacks, literally. Like that's what the job is to protect you because these feelings are too big. And they're in the moment. It's kind of like when you're flooded and you overindulge in the moment. That's what these do. And then your managers are more future oriented. So it's like you're intellectualizing, you're planning, your inner critic, blah, blah, blah. They're just basically ways to categorize different behaviors that you do to when you actually are protecting these deeper feelings. Now, what is the point of this? The point is to realize that you're the self at your core, that is really who you are, even if you don't feel like it. I've had people be like, I don't feel like I'm good at all. That's shame, right? When you name it, that's an exile. When you name it, you realize, oh, that's not me. Like, that's not who I am at my core. That's just a part of me that I've never felt like I've been able to express. So the goal of this model is like, where did these come from? Where did the exiles come from? What memories do you have? What situations do you have? When is that even brought up in the moment? Like, are you still in touch with your parents? Like, if you are, what is their behavior? What is your behavior, right? What is this firefighting behavior? What is this manager behavior that you do when you're at work and you have your boss that reminds you of this person, right? Like, what are your behaviors? And so what are the underlying feelings that you've never processed? So this modality is not complete because you need to get to these feelings on a somatic level. EMDR can help. Any somatic experiencing, any somatic thing, which means a body thing, can help you release it. But you can really only do that when you feel safe, when you understand that this part of yourself is not all of yourself, and that this really is you. You're the observer of the inner critic, right? Like, you are the observer. You're the neutral, calm, compassionate, curious, connected, confident person. That's who you are really at your core. Look at kids that have great parents. This is who they are. They're crazy because they can just be themselves. They don't need these protective parts. They don't struggle with alcoholism. They don't struggle with binge eating because they know how to relate to really difficult feelings that they have. So the idea with your inner critic is like to place it. It's to say, whose voice actually is this? Is this mine? Is this what I had to do to protect myself? Is this a firefighter? Like, what is it? And when you think about it, there's always an answer. And the reason you come up with an answer is because you know it's not you. It's not you. It's not. And if it is, it's just a part of you that's trying to protect you in a situation. And so when you look at yourself this way, you're inherently good, because even your bad behaviors, even if you yell, even if you go crazy, they're all trying to protect you from these deep feelings. So this is how to process information and to get rid of your inner critic by just becoming bigger and becoming this all of the time. This is what self-compassion is. It's when you can look at the parts of yourself and you can be like, I wonder what that's about. Being curious. Compassion. I wonder, there's a good reason for this. What is that reason? Like, when you can do that with yourself, you will solve all your problems.